And morning in Camp Massatators, where that sun is going to get really brutal really quick. And we moved our usual in the tent morning activities to outside of the tent because it is bloody boiling out here, and the tent is basically like voluntarily putting yourself in an oven. I was just editing away and looked up and there's a ship headed right for us. It looks really large in person. And so that tow is staring at me standing here in my underwear, filming them. It's a real caring morning here in Camp Massatators, where I was just told it was funny when I cry.
When you were crying comically. The exaggerated morning crying report. So last night, when I was out cooking dinner right about 10 o'clock, all of a sudden a swarm of crazy bugs attacks the tent.
Horny bug.
Attacks the tent, goes totally nuts for about 5 minutes, and then starts dropping to the ground right outside the tent.
Postcoital deathgasm.
And, well, apparently it takes them a while to die because they were twitching all night long. We could hear them twitching right outside our tent.
That was.
And this morning they're still twitching, but we can apparently see the results of all the festivities. I think these are the eggs.
The dirtiness.
So they've all got these eggs now, and I hope they don't last too much longer. They look pretty miserable.
Sandbar camps are really cool. It's been drier, so the sand hasn't been as big of a hassle. I wanted to aim for that island just because I felt like there might be a little more cover, but it was a bit too dark to screw around much. Honestly, the hard part of being out on these is finding a place for a cat hole if you're the sort of person that drinks 3 coffees and then runs off into the bushes. So we are currently about 70 miles from Chain of Rocks, which is St. Louis. We have been warned by multiple locals that St. Louis is not somewhere you want to linger, camp, etc. The beta we have from other paddlers, we know a campsite around Chain of Rocks that is considered safe, and that is marked as the last, quote unquote, safe campsite until you cross through the town. So now for the next couple of days, we basically need to hit a more organized plan of doing certain miles a day, which is hard because we're often kind of just at the mercy of the river out here. If we've got a headwind, our speed gets cut down to almost, half at times. On the plus side, we also have friends to meet at St. Louis, so that shall be fun, if slightly stressful, because every time we say we're going to meet somebody, that means we need to try and hit a schedule, which is always hard to do. Also, there are no piles of mayflies anywhere but around us. I feel like they just saw our tent. We're like, I'm going to make a love pile right there.
You attracted them on over.
I have that effect on flies, apparently. With all the heat, our water requirements are going way up. We're going through like a gallon easy. I'm pretty sure I drank more yesterday. So if you see me chugging out of this, sadly, it is not just drinking cold brew all day, as glorious as that would sound. This is now our electrolyte jug. Yes, these things are annoying, but this is nowhere near as bad as Minnesota. At least we have that. And we are super excited to be away from the shore with whatever these new bugs are, and to be headed towards clouds, because it looks like there's a front coming from the south. So last night where we were camped, it felt like we were in a really, really remote stretch, only to come around the corner this morning and boats everywhere and houses. It's kind of cool how different these different stretches are without having to travel much distance. Well, and I mean, we find it interesting how the houses are built around here with the flooding and everything. And Taters found a free boat. Free boat, snake included. Jen is totally going to get me bit by this thing. Now it's going to bite Taters. That was fun. I'm really not sure when the current picks up on the river, but it sure seems like we're having more and more current. Swimming the last 2 days, when I get away from shore, it was a noticeable tug that I had to fully swim against in order not to be swept off into the dark. There have been multiple side rivers coming in. The big one, I think, is the Missouri, which is further down, but I mean, we're only 2 days away from St. Louis, something like that. Getting close.
Matt as a child was just absolutely mind-blowingly adorable, and one of the pictures that's really adorable of him is in a little turtle sandbox, and you would not believe what we found when we came around to the sandbar here.
I literally used to be under it, and I would put the little like shell thing and crouch down. Even if we had the shell, I think that might be a problem here. But
the turtle looks so much bigger in the pictures.
that's what. Never mind. So we're really glad to have cloud cover, but it is really hot and humid out here. Weather's claiming it's feels like 95.
The impromptu sandbox stop turned into a swim stop.
Oh, it feels so much better in the water. You paddle, I'll just swim behind you to the lock. And finally got Stinky. I mean Taters. Into the water. Making for much more domestic bliss in the tent. So the water is just amazingly cool, and I keep wishing I didn't have to wear sun layers so I could just get in more often. Be paddling along and just all of a sudden fling myself out of the boat and make Jen deal with it. And now the moment of truth for today. Are they going to let us lock?
Lock 25, this is Southbound Canoe.
And after not getting a response, I did check the documentation, and turns out that while all the other locks are on channel 14, this is on 12. I asked on 12 and we got a response pretty much instantly saying 10 minutes to cycle the lock and they will come get us. And with only minimal delay, it looks like we are up. After the initial radio contact, nobody greeted us when we came in, nobody threw a rope to us, so we just went in the middle and floated. Eventually some people came from the building, one of whom had actually looked up our website from the side of the boat. So there was actually a stupid amount of effort to get those stickers on the side of the boat that say, Mississippi Source to Sea. So we get really frustrated when somebody comes and like, oh yeah, how far are you going? And we're like, oh, just out, 2 miles going around. Somebody did just come out though, and they did ask us that question, but they said they just looked up our website. So finally, one person. All that work. Also, for only the third time, we did not have to tie in, hold on to anything. We've just been floating out here like mad women. So, we found out they're actually expanding this and adding a second lock to it. That looks both fun and like it is very inefficient. So in addition to a couple of odd interactions in the lock itself, we are basically watching this guy over here pulling dirt out and loading it onto a platform. And then we're watching that guy over there take dirt off of a platform and throw it back in the river. For some reason, I am highly amused by these platform houses that have outhouses built out on the deck. We've seen a lot of them. Sometimes it's just like a standard, rental outhouse. Sometimes they're bricked columns like that. And now we have about 50 miles to go to our setup to St. Louis, so we are going to try and get maybe 17 to 18 more miles done today. It's 4:30 or so, so we still got some daylight to work with. That woman almost snuck up on us. And it looks like we may have re-entered one of the party zones here. We got offered beer, but we figured we didn't want to stop in the middle of that mess. We have no idea what's going on here, but it's really loud. And there was also some swearing and cursing going on. We did get cheered by pretty much the entire group though, so if only the people on the outside had wanted to give us cold beer. As with many of the cool things we see along the way, we kind of lack context, but these look really cool. We are just dodging all sorts of traffic out here. Not sure what happened to our nice calm river. We are currently just trying to get as far as we can before we have to start looking for camps. It's a little after 9 o'clock, so we're pushing it more than we normally would, but it's been a really occupied area with marinas everywhere. We found a sandbar on the map that we're aiming for. And this is kind of annoying, but we got something that'll work.
We worked pretty hard today, trying to get pretty far to set us up for being able to get through St. Louis in a day and being able to meet some folks there too. So we did about 12 hours of hard paddling, made 40 miles even. And that's just with a couple of little breaks in there. And we're both pretty beat, so that felt like a really satisfying day. We had pretty nice conditions all day. It was very warm, but at least we had some good cloud cover. Water was nice and flat. Sailed through the lock after we figured out that they were on a different channel than the others. And we just have one lock left tomorrow, as well as the Chain of Rocks portage. We found a sandbar camp just in time, or actually a few minutes after the time we would have preferred. It's a little bit less than ideal just because we can see like house lights off in the distance, so we don't feel totally alone. But other than that, it'll work pretty well. Oh, and I'm pretty bummed because I'm gonna have to set an alarm for tomorrow morning, and that is something that one should not have to do over summer vacation. But this is all to help us set up well for St. Louis. Home sweet home for the night.